everyone, all the viewers out here. Here we are again, of course, 1:30 every Tuesday, Pacific Standard Time. We've got a lot of information to share. I think I've got a really great topic, and I want to thank everybody because I get my topics from you. So if there's a topic that you're interested in, please share, and I will do my very best to put something together and get you some intel on it. Today we're going to talk about investing, and specifically how to invest successfully in any environment. And I'm not only going to share with you some thoughts about this and really give you some hardcore tips that over years have served me very well. I will give you some insight of how my brain thinks about investing, how I've looked it over truly my lifetime in real estate from 21 years of age to now. I'm 57. Yes, I look 41. I know that. No problem. Okay, moving right along. All right, so if we're going to talk about investing, and this is the part that gets missed, and I get why this gets missed, is we don't start with coming up with our own investment strategy. Now, if you say, well, how do I put an investment strategy together if I've never invested? You know, how does this start? What I'm really talking about is getting just clarity around who you are and really what you would like to see happen if you're going to start investing. Separate from what you're going to invest in yet, and we're certainly going to talk about that. But I want you to get it clear. And let me share just some thoughts about this. And I have to say, you know, your age, your specific goals will matter. Just the way you think and the way you see the world will matter in what this philosophy and ultimately your strategy is going forward. All right, but just some thought processes. I'm going to share some experiences that hopefully will give you some insight. One, you need to, if you're going to go into any endeavor from investing, you want to have an attitude is, okay, whatever I get into, I want to be the expert in that particular specialty. And I say specialty because if you think you want to invest in everything, good luck in that. I think that's the first mistake, is where you're getting outside of any type of expertise and any aspect of really understanding what you're investing in. And we'll certainly talk more about that. How do you do this? Well, we all start off either reading books, we listen to tapes, we watch videos. One of the things that I did, amongst what I just went over, is I found an investing mentor, someone that I saw. I was 21 years of age. You know, you watch and you see who's doing some investing. And you know what? I asked them, can I just follow along and learn? And that's really was a huge help to me. In fact, here's how it went. This particular person was investing in fourplexes at the time. And I found it really interesting. In fact, they were investing in purchasing HUD fourplexes, and they had been very successful. Well, they were going to another bid in the very soon future. And he asked me, he said, look, you know what, you're successful, you have the dollars, would you like to bid on one of these fourplexes? I mean, you're learning about it, but would you really like to get involved? And I was excited. I said, sure. He goes, I'm going to give you one that you're probably not going to get, okay, because it's in the best shape. It really doesn't need a lot of repairs. And the ones that really normally sell for a reasonable price, something that you would be willing to pay for it, are the ones that have a lot of work. So he goes, you bid on this really brand new looking one, and I'm going to bid on these. I'm like, great. So he really helped me with the entire process. And I had put in a bid on my first HUD fourplex. In fact, I not only put in a bid, but he gave me his formula for as low as he felt I could bid on this and still have any chance of winning. Now, he did tell me the chances of you winning anyways, because you're going to have more bid on your newer looking fourplex than I will on all these other ones that I'm bidding on. All right. So I put in my bid. Well, come to know it, I win my bid. So I've got this brand new looking fourplex, and I got it for priced then $85,500. Okay, and earn a 6% commission on that baby. That was a beautiful, beautiful deal. I do feel bad about one thing. The other fourplexes that he bid on, he did not get his fourplexes. So what does that tell you? You never know which direction it can go. That fourplex, I ended up moving in, living in one unit, renting out the other three, still made a little bit of money on the fourplex and was able to live for free. I lived there for a year until I moved out and bought another house. And that will certainly come into play in the future. Ultimate moral of that story is work with someone. If you can learn from someone and get a mentor who's out there doing it in the field, very, very important. Now, I want you to get clear on what you want to invest in. You know, be it residential homes that you want to flip, you want to hold to rent, you want to do multifamily, you want to do a specialty in commercial. Heck, if you want to invest in stocks, whatever it is, I just want you to commit to yourself that, you know, my goal is to become an expert in the specialty that I'm devoted to. See, if you don't do that and you try and shed yourself or spread yourself too thin, and you're trying to be, you know, all that in a bag of chips to every type of investment, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to truly understand, and you're going to miss opportunities because you're really not focused on a certain specialty. All right. Ultimately, my philosophy is this. I am a conservative, long-term thinking real estate investor. That's what I have looked for my whole career. I'm very comfortable in investing in real estate. And we're going to talk more about that as well. Now, this philosophy has truly protected me through uncertain times and unforeseen times. You know, any time that you can have a strategy that can protect you from the unknown, it's really, really powerful. So what do I mean when I'm talking about that with real estate? Well, the beautiful thing about real estate is this. You know, if something unforeseen happens at a certain time, my feeling is, you know what? All that did for me is it says you're going to have to hold on to this real estate longer than maybe you had planned to do in the first place. Or, you know what? If you're a long-term thinker, you may say, well, it's not a problem. I had planned to hold on to the real estate for many, many more years. I love the cash flow. You know, even in a down market, specifically with residential homes, and I'm speaking for this example with residential homes, do you know when there's a downturn, rents go up. A lot of times if there's a challenge with people for whatever reason not buying a home, they need to live somewhere. So guess what? Many times in a downturn, rents either can get solidified or even increase. And if you're holding that property for a cash flow standpoint, well, that can be a beautiful thing. So, you know, real estate is always done right by me because worst case is I've said, I'm just going to hold on to it longer and I'll do great. And I'm still getting the cash flow at that time. Now, not all investments are as simple as that. Even in real estate, you know, if you're into commercial investing and let's say it's not in even multifamily, it's more in commercial businesses. Well, you have to look at each scenario and depending on what you have and how much flexibility you have, you know what, you can lose tenants and you have to, you have to manage that investment going forward. And I'll give you some tips on that. I want to talk a little bit about, as you're building your philosophy, your risk and comfort level. Now, I see videos all the time. In fact, many people have sent them to me, and they talk about leverage, and they talk about leveraging up, you know, all your real estate. In fact, you know, don't put, to put no money down and get as many houses as you possibly can, all right, to purchase. That's a beautiful thing. Well, you know what? I've got some thoughts about that I'm going to share with you in a second. First of all, I'm going to give you a true example. You know, if I can take you back to 2005 and 2006, when late 2006 and really moving into 2007 and forward, the market adjusted hard throughout the country and it affected real estate everywhere. All right. In fact, average sales prices of real estate dropped dramatically in just months. So very difficult to deal with. But I will tell you, if you have these properties rented, and I don't care if your value went from 400,000 to 100,000, you still have the property rented. You probably aren't excited, and you're probably saying, darn, I had all that equity, why didn't I dump it and sell the property? But the reality of it is nothing's really changed, all right, as long as you actually have cash flow. What a lot of people were doing in that time frame is they were leveraging up to buy, and they were so enthused about purchasing, they started taking the prayer or the hope for appreciation, either in the short run or longer run, all right? Keep it. It doesn't matter if I'm losing $500 or $700 a month. My equity is going to build in this, and then I'll make my $100,000 on this property. Well, I will tell you, if you're ever investing in real estate, I would never, and I'm going to mention this again, I would never invest for appreciation. Appreciation, categorize it as a bonus. You need to invest for cash flow, because if you had 20 homes making as little as $50 a month, you can do that all day long. If you have 20 homes losing $50 a month, I don't care how much money you have, at some point, that is going to get difficult to carry. All right? And sometimes you can not only be losing $50 a month, you could be losing $500 a month. So keep that in mind. These are just things that you want to think about so you know when to say yes to an investment or no to investment. Remember this. The win is made on the purchase, not on the sale. Okay, your profit is made when you purchase, not on the sale. Specifically, again, that's really all real estate. But going back to that downturn, certainly it affected a lot of people when the market crashed. And I have to tell you, people who had 20 homes, 30 homes, I know somebody who had over 100 properties lose everything. I'm going to give you a rule that I live by in buying residential homes. And at one point, I owned many. And I'm going to share with you in a little bit of when I sold all the residential homes and why I felt I should sell them at that time. But I had a rule of thumb when I started. I said, if I'm going to buy residential homes, I want, out of every 4 homes that I own, okay, I'm going to leverage up, but out of every 4 homes, I want 1 home free and clear. Okay, so would that stop me or minimize how many more homes I could buy, all right, if I really was focusing on paying off 1 before I move forward? Absolutely yes. It absolutely will slow you down. But here's the difference. If something goes wrong, you have a house free and clear. Do you know, having a house free and clear, it's the easiest way to get capital. You can get a loan on a free and clear house quickly and easily. Yes, if the value of that house has come down, your access to as much capital as you want can certainly adjust. And in that example, adjust down. But at least you have access. And if that property's rented and it's free and clear, you've also got quality cash flow coming in because you don't have a payment on that property. So that was a rule of thumb. So if I own 8 houses, I had to have 2 free and clear. Another rule I had is all the cash flows from all the properties went down to pay 1 property at a time. I didn't spread it out. Do not make the mistake and pay down 30% of all your equity on all the properties you own. Don't do it. It's a major mistake. What you need to do is focus on getting 1 property free and clear at a time. Think about this. You own 50 properties. You think you're doing the right thing. You have some cash and you pay 50% down on the equity on all of those properties. Well, guess what? Your payment didn't change. You just put more cash in. If the market adjusts and the value goes down, you may end up having no equity. You virtually lost 100% of that cash at that moment in time. And if you need that capital, you just created a problem. Why? Because you paid it down instead of paying it off. So I would rather have you pay off properties, pay off less properties, okay, but fully pay them off 100% than try and pay down numerous properties off a little bit, okay, or a percentage in my example. All right, so I call it my 1 in 4 rule. Common sense is a huge tool when it comes to investing. Let me tell you this story. I said I'd share with you why I sold my properties. You know, in prior to the crash in 06 and 07, and so let's take it about 04, 05, I had numerous residential properties, over 50 at that time. And, you know, I had properties that I had purchased for $79,000 that in the hot market, people were offering me $400,000 for the property. Now, to be honest with you, the only upgrade the property had was mold. Okay. And I know that sounds funny, but pretty much that's true. It was disclosed mold, so they knew it was there, but that was the only upgrade. And I asked myself, I said, you know, Mark, you're never going to be able to rent out these properties and get anywhere close to what the true cash flow is of pulling those monies out of these properties and using them for something else. And I said, next, just using common sense. Who is going to buy this property down the road for $500,000? I don't get it. Something's not making sense to me. So when something doesn't make sense, it's not common sense. I can be wrong, but it's not making common sense to me. Then you know what? I dump. And I dumped all 50 properties. And a lot of agents that I knew some of my LLCs. And they said, you know, Mark, I noticed you're selling a lot of properties. Do you see a problem happening? And guys, I'll tell you right now, I never saw a dramatic issue of what happened in 2007, 8, and 9. Never saw that coming. I felt we'd have an adjustment, but you know what? Could it be 20%? Yeah, it could have been 20%. Never did I think it would be a 77% adjustment. That's what that ultimately was at that time in the Las Vegas marketplace. But I know many markets got hit, not as dramatic, but certainly Phoenix got hit in a dramatic way. California got hit in a dramatic way. And certainly, again, Las Vegas market got hit. All right, so it got hit much harder. So people asked me, did you see that coming? And I didn't. What helped me is just common sense. It just didn't make sense to me. When something doesn't make sense to me, I'll move and say, okay, I will move forward. Now, here's a key message. When I had already sold those properties, because I had done it in 04, 05, if you remember, the market was still hot and still moving forward. Well, I would have agents come, hey, Mark, I told you, shouldn't have sold. You know that property you sold? It's worth $20,000 more. It's worth $25,000 more. This market is crazy. See, you sold too early. Here's a huge mistake that I do not make and I don't want you to make. Do not count the other person's money. And I told that to the agents. I said, you're making a big mistake. You want me to count their money. Great. Let the property sell for $1 million. What I sold the property for, that money is in my account and I'm able to access that money if I want it. I'm not counting what anyone else makes on that property. It's a terrible, terrible thing to do, and it will not in the long term serve you well. All right. A couple more things on just my thought process on investing. I believe in consistency and time as a theory. So what does that mean? I believe in investing money, okay, consistently, okay, on an ongoing basis over a long period of time. All right. That's just the way my brain works. I think I got that ultimately from my dad, which I'll share a story with you in a little bit. So that really works for me, a consistency over a long period of time. I like cash on cash investing model over looking for any specific return. What I mean by that is this. Look, of course I want a return, but the way I like to look at investing is this. If I'm going to put in whatever, $50,000, that's the cash I'm investing. What I'm wondering is what's going to be my return on $50,000. All right, and when am I going to get my $50,000 back? And then, you know what? I can get the return forever. That's never going to hurt me. But the reality of it is, it's what cash am I actually putting into the investment and what's my return going to be on that amount of cash? And when will I have the opportunity to not only get a return, but get my principal back of what I originally invested. Now, I'm not a big stock guy. All right. I do invest in stocks. I think I do it very simply. I know a lot of my friends have, professionals manage their dollars. So I am certainly not the guy to help you really understand the in and outs of stock investing. But here's the way that I'm comfortable doing it. So I thought I'd share it with you today. All right. I recommend, if you don't know stocks, then you pick something like the S&P, all right, and you pick an index fund, and you put the money in there. You do it consistently over time. It gives you diversity because, just for an example, the S&P, it's a bunch of different companies and stocks. You don't have to have a lot of management skill to do it. You'll move, ebb and flow with the S&P or that index. And as long as you're consistent over a long period of time, okay, I promise you, you will win. And keep in mind that if you look over a long period of time, the S&P, for that example, and probably many other funds over a long period of time, has worked great. Here's what you got to know. When the market goes down, that's not the time to get scared and take your money out. You may not want to put more money in, and many times that's a great move to do so. But let's say, you know what, because the market adjusted, I don't have the stomach for that. Great. Don't pull your money out. You've got to be able to leave it there. And that's what that money should be for. Leave those dollars there so they can build and grow over time. You certainly don't want to sell it when the market's down. That's the complete opposite strategy. You got to trust that, I don't know if it's coming back in 6 months. I don't know if it's coming back in a year. But you know what? What history tells me again and again and again, it's coming back. And whatever that time frame is, I want my money there, and then I get the benefit of that growth. If you can consistently through this time, while the market's down, continue putting in those dollars, very powerful. Because now you're getting the benefit of how the market adjusted down. You're continuing to buy consistently like you always have. Maybe the exact amount of funds, that's your commitment. And before you know it, when that market does come back, regardless of the time frame, you win. Now, as I said in the beginning, your personal situation, your age, your goals, all those things matter in making these decisions. Because if you need the money and you say, well, God, the timing's bad, okay, I need to take out the money now, and now the market's down, okay, can put you in a tough scenario. So hopefully these are dollars that you're not going to have to access if something were to happen, or there was a challenge, with your job. So you've got, excuse me, you don't want to put too much and ride it, because if you got to pull it out, you can take a hit. All right. Last point. Please don't make tax decisions alone, or taxes. Let them alone, okay, determine if you're going to buy a property. I have people come to me and they say, you know what, I need to do a tax 1031 exchange to jump into something. And the sole purpose is the taxes, and they stop paying attention of what you're buying. Listen, I'm all for 1031 tax deferred exchanges. I think they're awesome. They're a powerful tool. But they don't care about the investment you're buying. Say, you know what, I am going to use a 1031 tax deferred exchange, and here's the segment of the properties that I'm looking for. Here's what I'm comfortable with. Here's what I want to look. Here's a like property and what I normally own. And guess what? I want to find the right property, and then it's a double win. You buy something right, and guess what? You save on the taxes in that example. All right, I want to share with you, and probably many of you have seen this, because they're on videos everywhere. I wanted to share with you some Warren Buffett rules of investing. Rule number 1, do not lose your money. Rule number 2, review rule number 1. That is exactly right. All right? Do not lose your money. So you need to think about, just before you throw in investments into something. His stock rules: buy great companies and plan to hold them for at least 5 years or longer, or do not even buy the stock. Now, you may agree or disagree. I tend to agree. I am not the person in and out of companies. I like buying good companies, and I let it sit there. And when the market goes down, I may determine I want to buy a little bit more. I may not. The reality of it is if it's a good company and I believe in it, I'm going to go with it for the long term. Do not try to time the market. Another Warren Buffett advice. I agree. And understand the investments and the companies that you invest in. So you know what? You don't run these companies. You don't know everything. But if you're going to do your very best to understand it, specifically real estate, because that's what many of us are in, all right? Really do your homework. Learn, all right? Learn about what you're investing in. And I'm going to go through some other tips here that I think will really help you along those lines. So let me give you some rules of thumb. If you want to be a successful investor, we've talked already about it, getting your head, around it, understanding the pitfalls. Are you going to be a little too aggressive? Are you going to be more conservative? Okay, so you got your mind around it and you've picked your specialty. How about this? Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Make sure you have those dollars to invest. I told you I was going to tell you a story about my father. My dad, his best year ever, he made $45,000. He drove a semi-truck in Chicago, locally, not over the road. And he would tell me this story, 16,000 times. And it was how he takes 10% out of every check and he puts it away, for savings and investment. All right, and he loved the stock market, he really did. And he'd always put little bits, and he would love it. And he would do it on a consistent basis. And when the market did adjust, he didn't get scared. He stayed with it. Now, I remember him going through a challenge and getting laid off. In fact, he was laid off for a year. And he had to access, savings. Some that was used for investments and didn't really get hit. The market wasn't down at that particular time where he got hit that way. But I remember how really depressing it was for him that he had to use any of that money that he normally would invest, for the family, helping, buy the next little bigger property. We lived in a, duplex, and then we bought our own residential house, and he would get so excited, about that. But the big message that really helped me, that I kept with me forever, is, wasn't a rich guy, but he took 10% of everything he made and he put it away first. He paid himself first, and that was there, and it was powerful. And he lived within his means, so he could put the 10% away. All right? I don't believe living like a pauper or not enjoying your life, but let's face it, there are decisions you can make that gives you the ability to put that money away, and then there's decisions you make that's just over the top. You don't have that money, and you're always living check to check, or you're always broke, whatever the case may be. That's a choice. You don't want to put yourself in that scenario. All right, this one I hope you'll find interesting. Make friends with local bankers. Like it or not, having bankers as your friend will come in handy sometimes. Absolutely. So build that rapport. And if you ever get the opportunity to present to a bank, please, don't do a general presentation. Do your homework. Yes, you're going to need a spreadsheet. You're going to need to understand all the expenses, not generalized expenses. You need to show bankers you know what you're talking about. You have things included that no one would include, but guess what? It's real. It's part of the investment, and so I put it in here. All right. I see people show bankers spreadsheets, and they don't even have the interest the banker is charging them in those spreadsheets. Why wouldn't you include that in? Right? Certainly, it's their fee, but more importantly, it tells them, you've included everything in your cash flows. So it lets them be more comfortable that, you have expertise that I don't see in a lot of different people. So do your homework, and if you need help with that, find the experts that can help you put that together in a make sense way. This one, people get caught in. This is a trap. Investing does not have to be fun or sexy. I've had people come to me, they find a segment and they're killing it. They're making money. They're doing great. But you know what? That's starting to get boring for me. All I do is I do this, I invest this, I make a lot of money. I do this, I invest this, I make a lot of money. And they start getting bored with it. What are you talking about? All right? That's exactly what you're supposed to do. It's working perfectly. Ride that horse all the way until it makes no more sense. You want to have fun? Have a party. All right? Right now, you want to have a party? Have a party. Only invite 9 other people. We know that per the rules. But you, the 10 of you, enjoy yourselves. Other than that, focus on what investing's supposed to do. And that's supposed to make you money. All right? And succeed. All right? So it doesn't have to be fun and sexy. Always use professionals in every form. You know what? And I have to tell you, there's just so many different mistakes when people try and just skip steps. I don't believe in skipping steps. Sometimes you have to spend a little money to not skip a step, all right? But don't be cheap. I promise you, you will pay for that one way or another. So just use professionals in every aspect. That might be in creating documents and agreements. Oh my God. If I can tell you how many mistakes that have been in agreements and what people have signed. And by the way, it's never a problem until it's a problem. So when it becomes a problem and you're reading the document and someone says, you signed this? Well, yeah. Did you read it? I think so. Okay. And you perused it. Why? Well, a buddy gave it to you, a friend, or I trusted them, or I really wasn't leading the investment, someone else was. Guys, that's not okay. I would save your money and invest in something else that you do have more information on. You do have more expertise on. All right? That can also do with anything you're going to do. Let's say you're doing construction to a property. I don't care if it's for a flip or just repairing to rent out. Bottom line is, okay, use professionals. Do your homework on that. Always plan for worst case. It is frustrating for me when I sit down with someone on an investment and all they do is tell me the good things. Tell me the bad things. Why do you think it's mandatory in stock proposals and how? Because public companies have to tell you, here's all the risks too. Here's everything that could go bad on this investment. I want to know that. Don't worry. I'm not saying it's going to scare me away, but I want to know, and something may come up. Well, yeah, that is a challenge. How are you dealing with that? Well, here's how we're dealing with it. Well, that's not to my liking. And it may make you make a different decision. But regardless, you need to know what the pitfalls are. You want to go over the upsides? Great. Go over the downsides too. Always prepare an exit strategy from the start. You need to know your exit out of every investment from the beginning. From the beginning. Here's how I'm going to get my money out. And if it goes wrong, okay, like I said, you're planning for worst case, here's where I'm at. That's why I'm so comfortable and why real estate is such a great investment. Because I know in good times and in bad times what I'm going to do. Oh, great. I'm going to keep that property longer. No problem. All right. So whatever the case may be, whatever segment of investing you do, you need to know, focus on what's worst case and what's your exit strategy. And that comes with a time frame. Do not chase a bad investment. Never, never. I know sometimes, and we've all had them, okay? Be it in stock, be it in real estate, whatever the case may be, is I have to tell you, I've had very little in real estate. Definitely have had in stock, where you know what? You look at something and you go, wait a minute, it went down, I put more in, and then it goes down more, and you put more in, and then it goes down more until you're like, I'm not going to put any more in. And sometimes you just, you know what? Lick your wounds and move on. Don't chase a bad investment. I promise you, you will be happier cutting it loose than continuing to put in more dollars. Do not compare your returns to somebody else. First of all, I promise you, they're not telling you the whole truth. You don't even have their accurate return that they've got on their investment. You've got what they're telling you that they've got. So the reality of it is, don't compare yourself, to anyone else. Do you know what return you should focus on? The return you want. My God, if you're sitting there right now and a 5% return on all your investments gets you and your family what you want, 5% is great. You know why it's so great? Because you're able to take less risk And you have other investments out there that you can now put your dollars in and your time and effort with saying, you know what, I don't have to take a lot of risk to achieve a 5% return. And truthfully, based on the way I live and other monies I have saved, I'm very comfortable with a consistent or overall 5% return. That's beautiful. But if you want a 15% return or 20% return, no, that comes with more risk. All right. And you've got to make sure you're okay with it. So if someone says, hey, I think we're going to double our money, great. Ask this question. All right. Are you comfortable, and you're asking this to yourself, losing all your principal? Because if you say, I really am, if I lose it, I lose it. I don't care. I'll write it off. Bottom line is, I want to go for it. And I'm totally okay if I lose my money. Cool. I have no problem with it. There's no wrong or right to it, but you got to be clear. What you can't be saying is, no, I am not okay if I lose my money, but I'm going to do it anyways because I'm focused on doubling my money. Okay. That's a scary way to invest. I do not advise it, and I don't invest that way. All right. Ego and investing do not mesh well. Okay. Keep your ego out of it. I have so many people will tell me, here's what they're worth and here's what their net worth is. And you know what I look at? Paper is paper. Whatever on paper is great. Truthfully, I don't even care what anyone else is worth. So, but sometimes I'm in situations where people share that. Whatever. You know what? If you're achieving your goals for you and your family and what you're trying to do, okay, based on your personal exit strategy and what you're trying to accomplish, guys, don't get better than that. All right, a few more ideas here. Investment structures. Okay, I told you, always use professionals. Always use professionals and don't be cheap. Operating agreements. I cannot tell you how many operating agreements I've reviewed and people have signed things. I said, well, did you read how they do this? Because all they're doing is following what you signed. So operating agreements, how things operate, okay, in companies, if you're going to invest or in investments, you need to read it. It's like not reading those HOA documents and then you want to put in that tree and it's not allowed, okay? You know what? You got to read the operating agreement. You got to know what the rules are up front, and you may not be comfortable with those. And one, you can negotiate to get those changed or not invest, or guess what? Just not invest because you're not comfortable. What are some of those other aspects? How distributions will be handled. Okay, when do we get distributions? Well, you don't get distributions until A, B, and C. Well, that could be years. Right. So I'm not going to get any money out for years? Yeah. Huh. You may not be happy with that. If you're saying a bunch of times, you know what? It might be it might mean you have to go for another investment. What about cash calls? Hey guys, didn't expect this. We're having some trouble right now. Everyone evenly has to come in with more money. So based on your shares. So you owe 10%, we need another $100,000. That means, Mark, you have to come in with $10,000. What? Well, I don't have that to come in with right now. Well, you have to. Well, I can't. So what happens if I don't? Well, if you don't and everyone else does, okay, you can be diluted. What does that mean? Well, that means the ownership I had now goes down. And sometimes things can be written where it can dilute you right out of your own investment, right? You have to know what the agreement is. And then, of course, you want to determine what's the most favorable tax structure. You got to see your CPA so they can sit down and structure something, okay, that can save you as much taxes in that scenario. One other aspect as it comes to minimizing liability in agreements, one thing that you may have to do specifically early on in investing is personal guarantees. Personal guarantees are very powerful. You want to never do them if you don't have to. I've had to do them in the past, and they can be, very powerful. So just be clear when you're signing a personal guarantee, it's strong. Now, I will say this. I know people who have invested in many investments, and they've signed so many personal guarantees, it ended up being more than they were worth in overall. What did that make them do? Well, they're very comfortable signing any personal guarantee at that time because you know what? If things go upside down, I'm already running like a country. I'm at a negative net worth. So I can sign at this point as many personal guarantees as I want to do the investment. All right, so certainly that personal guarantee isn't worth the paper it's written on. And also keep in mind, if you can minimize it, again, sometimes you have to do these. It's like a general partnership. You got to be really careful. General partnership has a lot of liability. I've learned that lesson, okay, back when. So just talk to a professional, and if your goal is to minimize liability, then you need to talk to that attorney, that professional, and say, what can I do to minimize? And here, read over this investment, and where's my liability, and what do I come back with to minimize it? All right, in conclusion, and I know I covered a lot of stuff here, but in conclusion, all right, I think investing should be part of everyone's overall plan of attack. Absolutely. It builds a nest egg. It builds confidence for you. It builds expertise. You'll learn by living and breathing within your own investments. You'll learn more and more, and take notes as you go through. That will be your investment Bible. Some of it was a little painful lesson you learned. Don't worry, you're not going to do that again. And other of it, you're just learning through the process. And it's just great. And it'll help you in your future do more and more positive, powerful investing. It builds wealth, of course. It builds passive income. You know, we all hear about building passive income. That's powerful. That's income that's being generated while you're sleeping. So you don't have to just work. Okay, you're doing that, it's generating income, but you've also got this passive income that's coming in regardless of what you bring in within your day-to-day. And future exit strategy. What investing does is it helps you create that foundation for a strong future exit strategy. You know, the beautiful thing about an exit strategy is you don't ever have to use it. But when you use it, if you choose to, you know you can. Why? Because I built a great exit strategy. I've invested for an exit strategy. So I found out I didn't want to retire. I thought I wanted to retire at 50, but now I want to work forever. Cool. But you know this much. I could retire if I chose to do so. I'm just working because I want to. And last but not least, financial freedom. It gives you financial freedom to do whatever you want, buy whatever you want. And that's a powerful, powerful tool and thing that it's not a bad thing. Okay. Financial freedom is a beautiful thing. Certainly takes off a lot of pressure. All right. Covered a lot of information today. Went 45 minutes. I hope some of these tips were valuable for you. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and follow. I look forward to seeing everyone every Tuesday at 1:30. I appreciate everyone's time. Do you have any questions, Diane?
None.
No questions. Thank you for the positive comments. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Woohoo!